stand out. You can't stand it. I stand up for mine. You can't stand it. Please stand it.
Well, Mayor, the biggest thing Zach was saying, safety. Mayor Frank Jackson doesn't seem too concerned about safety in the neighborhoods. And to be totally frank,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of violence in the community. I'm talking about in my own community. But I'm not one to rush for National Guard to come in. How do you balance safety but still keep the rights and the sovereignty of the people?
Well, see, and now you hit it, because we could like you say, declare a state of emergency and suspend all rights and just come in, put everybody in jail, and do whatever you want to do, and with the National Guard. Or you can allow the police just to have a free hand and do what they want to do, and then justify it, as some people want to do, by saying, hey, look, crime, people got to. No, we didn't do that. We didn't do that. We have a consent decree. And I welcome the consent decree, because the consent decree gives me the ability to do true reform. Now, we were working on things, but we were doing like a little bit here, a little bit there. And whatever you do it that way, it never lasts, because it has nothing to support it. But when you do a holistic approach, then you able to, it will sustain itself, because you changing the whole system, right? So now, but let's go back. But this is an urban center. And which means that we don't have Barney Fife, somebody with a bullet in his pocket and he can't load his gun with one bullet until he's told to. Police deal with some serious stuff out here. That's right. And so but the question is, when they deal with these things, they're going to be aggressive because they urban police. You have to do it in a professional and constitutional way. And how do you establish that respect with them? And now they may not like me all the time, but they respect me. They respect me. Now, they may not like what I say and do, but they respect me. And so we keep them in check and hold people accountable. Now, let's go to the other end. The other end is the violence that is perpetrated, and the perpetration of that violence of us on us. And what that means is, how do we then correct and deal with the symptoms that deal with the cause of these things? Because that violence is only a symptom. It's only a symptom. Now, anybody that bring to you how they gonna cure cancer with some little gimmick, they ain't nothing but a quack. They just running a game. Because it's deeper than that. You got to deal with education. You got to deal with wealth creation. I ain't just talking about a job. I'm talking about the ability to give a job. Wealth creation. We have to own something. We have to own it, just like what you're doing here. You own in the airway.
Well, not stop you right there. You create the home zone. What was that back in the day? Where home ownership zone. So you're not just speaking this stuff.
Oh no,
and that's why you want to see it through.
Yeah, right. Because see, what happened was, when I was a councilman, the home ownership zone was created in Central. Now, Central, when Glenville and other places were doing quite well, when Ohio City and all the places were doing quite well, Central wasn't doing well at all. But we had all the vacant land. And so when the money people came and they wanted to develop it so they could make some money, but they had to come this way. So the condition for me allowing them to do what they did is that they had to do it for the benefit of the people. See, that's the same way I do Cleveland. That's why I got this thing around 20% of the work hours had to be with Cleveland residents if the city's involved in a development. That's why we have community benefits, where we have small businesses, local businesses, minority businesses that have to be part of that. That's why we made an agreement with the building trades to have Max Hayes as a pre-apprenticeship program, so that they can then move into an apprenticeship and things. And that's why as we move forward and we build on vacant land, and there are companies that are built, then we want our people to be part of those jobs. But this is the key. The key is the ability to give the job. That's about wealth. That's all that's about. And if give me a minute and be patient with me. Give me a minute and be patient with me. If you are a sporting athlete, you may make millions of dollars a year. If you working at McDonald's, you making whatever they pay you. You know the difference between the person working at McDonald's and the one who's an athlete? They both working, they both got a job, but one making more money than the other. The person working at McDonald's don't make as much as the one owning McDonald's, and the athlete don't make as much as the one owning the team. That's right. So they all it is, one's paid higher than the other. Now, of course, the one with the most money and the most image has an influence. Don't have power. Get influence because somebody will kiss your behind for $1. You can sell a tennis shoe. You can do that. So you make money that way. But still, you ain't owning nothing. You just making a lot of money. The key is, how do we own something? How do we own the stores? How do we own the airway? How do we own this?
Your administration looking to address those things?
Yes, that's what we do. But let me point out something to you. That when you get how should I say this? I'm trying to let it flow. When you get to the point where you about ready to get over the hump, that's when all the serious barriers come. That's where all the serious challenges come. And that's when they pull out all the stops. That's when the drugs come. That's when the crime comes. That's when all these things, it seems like right when you there to be successful, all this stuff just be piled on you. That's what we are as a people in Cleveland and in America, because we're about there. And the greatest fear that the system has of us is our children. That's why they undermining our children and feeding them the lie.
Oh,
you see?
Yeah.
And what they're doing is, when they do that, then they don't have to worry, because you take the children, if the children knew, in fact, who their enemy really was, and it may not be this individual, of course it won't be their parent. It won't be their community. When they figure out what it really is, then they divert all of that energy and that anger and that frustration into that channel net. That's a dangerous proposition. Yeah. See? And so what happens is, the key to us getting over the hump in a peaceful way, not in a violent way, is to own it.
Right. So please, can you tell us what you mean by bright future, and how do we go about having a bright future?
Well, let's first talk about the incidents you speak of. And people pretty much will recognize or talk about, as you said, police shooting somebody. But in the same breath, did the people tell you I fired the police who did it? Yeah, you sure did. All right. So this is the point about having accountability. Now, the bright future is about all of Cleveland. It is about all of Cleveland. We've come from being the mistake on the lake to being a place where people want to be. People want to be. We're no longer, our attitude has changed, where we don't brag about coming in second anymore. We're not the victims anymore.
You got a great deal to do with that too, man.
We are winners. We win. But as I mentioned before the break, this system in this country has a choice. It could either allow for a peaceful transition to greatness by allowing ownership, or it can deny that and then perpetuate the violence. But once that violence is focused in a way that is not internal, it will become external, then the system got a big problem. So what I say is we have a bright future because we are at the very point of getting over that hump. We can get over that hump. You know, I've set aside $25 million, and the banks have put in $40 million. We have $65 million that we're investing in basically in Glenville. In Glenville. Now, why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? We're doing that because I could have politically, I could have did that and ingratiated myself throughout the city of Cleveland. But I didn't do that. Why? Because that's politics. If we're going to do the right thing, what we have to do is go where the last of the hardcore stuff is left to do. You know, when you have a task to do and you start it, the easy things happen, then you do this, and they get a little bit more difficult, but you do that. When you get to the end, then that's the hardest of the hard. And that's where we are as the city. And we are investing in the future. That is why I had an education reform, so we can invest in our children's future, so they would have an opportunity. That's why we did the thing around 20% of the work hours, so people could work on the jobs. That's why we're doing community benefits, so contractors can get a piece of the action. That's why we're hiring more police officers and going through the consent decrees, so that as we hire officers and we do more recruiting to have people come onto the police force who look like the people they serve, then we have less incidents of police brutality, all those kind of things. So what I'm saying is you have to put these things in place. And this is not just something you come with a slogan and all of a sudden tomorrow, it ain't gonna work that way. It ain't gonna work that way. As Miss Lewis used to say, Councilwoman Lewis, there's a difference between getting here and being here. And what she said was, what she meant by that, you can get here in the campaign, but once you get here, you got to govern. You got to do something. And I've been doing something for 12 years, so we have a bright future because we're right there.
Yeah.
We're right there. And most of Cleveland has already reached that pinnacle. And is going. But all of Cleveland hasn't got there yet. And that is my next term.
How can progressive entrepreneurs in the community, in the neighborhoods, align themselves with the government to work together to bring about a brighter future?
By investing in where you are. Investing in where you are. Because what I believe is that when we, again, I'm old enough to remember the tail end of segregation when we bought and sold from each other, when we provided goods and services to each other, and we hired our own. And the doctor, the lawyers, the dentist, the business person, welfare person, all of this, the people who worked in the LTV and the post office, all of us were segregated. So we went to schools together. So we were all, the kids knew each other. So we didn't have the differences that we have now. Now, you know, only the poorest of the poor live certain places and everybody else. So the people who live here don't trust the people over there, and the people over there are scared of the ones over here. So the people who have the ability to invest need to invest in us. We need to invest in ourselves and people. That's right. Because when you invest in people, then all of this stuff takes care of its own. Because when you invest in people with education, job opportunities, wealth creation opportunities, the people will not tolerate the inequities that is being perpetrated on them. If in fact you keep people ignorant and people then begin to take on this victim mentality and blame somebody else, then we're not going anywhere. So we have a great future. We have a great future where our education system is set up and is working. Graduation rates are up 20% in the last 5 years. Third grade proficiency is much better. Now, we still are not doing as well as we need to do, but we're moving in the right direction, right? Economically, We are sharing more and more in economic growth, but we're not sharing to the extent we should share, and that's where the entrepreneurs need to come in and provide that into the neighborhoods. And in terms of safety, we're moving in regards to that, because I just don't deal with the symptom, because the symptom says just hire more police and do all that. But ain't nobody got cured of a cold by just addressing the symptom. You got to go with the cause. And so we're working with the cause on education, economic growth, wealth creation, and then that helps you to be able to deal with those underlying issues that result in poverty, results in crime. Now, finally, our kids are the smartest kids that you ever see. Now, I'm telling you. Now, they may behave ignorantly. Now, they may behave ignorantly, but I'm telling you, our kids are the smartest. You can take them, and they have this tenacity. They have this gut. They have all of this stuff that they have, just raw stuff that is produced by the environment that they come out of. You couple that with education. You couple that with a profession and with wealth. You couple that, and nobody can stop them. Nobody can stop them.
Ain't nobody stop you.
That's why what the system does, the system puts a gun in their hand rather than a book.
That's right.
See? The system make them do armed robbery rather than sell goods and services to the community.
That's right.
They sell drugs, illegal stuff, rather, you see? So as long as we allow for this system to continue to abuse, misuse, and misdirect our children,
Stop them from lying to
then we have a big problem.
lying to y'all.
We have a great future because we have the ability to move from here to there. But it means all of us. We have to do it all together.
Yeah, that's real talk. And that starts with your vote in November for the mayor. Mayor, we really appreciate you.
You-
We wish you good luck
You know,
in your endeavors.
you know what? I've actually enjoyed myself tonight.
you, man.
And if you don't mind, we can come back. We can talk about anything. I ain't trying to come back to even talk about my election. If we,
No doubt,
but
most definitely.
if we can make it after the election. I appreciate it. And I want to give you credit because at this moment you own the airway. You own the airway. And I'm saying this because if people believe the right's going to happen to them because it's the right thing to do, they foolish. It ain't going to happen. The only way it happens if you make it happen. And what you're doing by owning the airway, you are actually educating, giving people information that will allow them to do what they need to do, and you put it in the language and the format that they understand and comprehend. See, and so I appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
All right, thank you.